we have any ability of escaping the shit show that we're in.
I don't think so. It's beyond. Okay, so we're stuck. When somebody projects in the astral, they think, oh, I finally got out, I'm free. No, you didn't. You went from the prison to the prison yard. When your astral body disconnects from your physical body, it's got a cord between there. And then in between your spirit body or your astral body and your soul, there's another thin cord that they connect. So what we're doing is we're in prison with those three bodies, no matter which one we reside in. It's just that the other two aren't on physical Earth, but you're still confined to them. Now, I do believe, my personal belief is, if we are going to be free, then I believe the only way is to be free of all three of them, and it's just our consciousness. We have to be free of all three of them in order to be really free, in order to be out of the system. That's my belief. If we go from we're in the physical, we obviously are trapped here. We're in the astral, we can only go so far there. And we go on the mental, in the soul, we can only go so far there. But what we have in common with all of them is we're moving our consciousness, which is the us of us. So I do believe our consciousness is the only part of us that we could take with us. We don't want anything else. I don't want anything that's going to be trapping me within that three body range, or within the astral, or within the mental plane. We need to be outside of all of them because they're all controlled places. There are multiple levels of deception and manipulation. Okay, so on the groundwork level, you got, stuff at work, you got stuff with your family, you got the other things that happen in your life, so you're dealing with all that, so you're juggling your life and all the roadblocks that happen here. Above that are in the astral. In the spirit world, you're being manipulated, being deceived. In your dream state, you are being programmed not only on the earth, you're being programmed in the astral without even knowing it. It's constant. It's a constant stream. And let me give you an example. People will learn something, or they'll say, yeah, I need to practice that, because then that way I can kind of help separate myself. Well, you will begin to forget. It will be pruned from your memory. It will be pruned from your life. Because what happens is the system and the way it's built and the way you are being constantly programmed on a physical and a psychological level will prune these from your memory and from your life. And it happens all the time. And I've seen it in person. I've seen it happen. What is going on is a psycho-illogical psyops is happening to us on a 24/7 basis. And the farther and the harder you work to get to the bottom of it, the harder it works against you. So people that experience astral projection and that sort of thing that are looking for ways out of the system are going to meet more insulated roadblocks and that sort of thing. So as you begin to separate yourself, you begin to get more insulated from your source and from what you're looking for. So as you get deeper into the game gets more difficult. And you really don't understand the levels of difficulty until you experience them, because then you begin to get frustrated, then you begin to get, you question yourself, and that's the whole purpose behind it. The ones that are creating this whole manipulation are centuries or eons beyond our conception. Now, not on a spiritual level, it's not beyond our conception, but we have been dumbed down and pre-programmed for all these years that we're trying to get ourselves up out of the hole. And as we climb a couple feet, then it becomes slipperier, or there's something that goes against you. So it's such an involved system that it's really hard just to understand and get a grasp of how it is. And even when you do, you begin to lose sight of it only because of the friction that's gone against you. You don't even see it coming. I mean, let me give you this example. You'll go into a dream. Say there's someone you hate in life, somebody you just can't stand. In that dream, they'll come to your house and you'll be like, I really don't like this person, but you won't say anything or you won't do anything about it. And then when you wake up, you'll be like, wow, how come I didn't do anything about it? Because you're being manipulated. Because they're showing you that they can even bring the person that you hate the most in life and put them right in front of you in your own house and you're not going to do a damn thing about it. Because that's deceit. That's manipulation. And what it is it's like them saying, just try. You think that you're getting somewhere? Look what we can do, and you don't do a damn thing about it. I admire the other side because their ability to fulfill a plan, they plan and they execute. And then everybody works together, which on our side, nobody works together. It's hard enough if you even with something that happened within the last year. Anything happens, even if it's a big event, you maybe get, okay, so a big event, and I live in Phoenix, and we maybe get 2,000 people show up at the first day. After the first day, you maybe get half the next day, and then after that, within a week, you're down to 5 people. I mean, people just will not. They don't stand up for themselves. They don't stand up for their freedoms, and they're sure in the hell not going to stand up for the freedoms of the generations that come behind us. I mean, we're responsible for the generations behind us. The people that were before us, the generations before us, paved the way for us. They might not have been aware of everything that's going on, but still, they paved the way for us. So if you're not going to stand up for just yourself, stand up for others, because there's not a reason why you would want others down the line to suffer by losing all their freedoms just because you just didn't want to get off your chair or make use of the information that you have available to you.
So when I'm, close my eyes and it's like, and I'm just try to find a silent space of some peace. Sure enough, there's all these freaking entities are there, and if they're not there, then there's going to be this lattice, this thing, this like a grid, this thing that's going to be there. It's always something interfering with light and everything, and it's just like you get to the point you're just like, this is such a fucking, I'm pissed. That's what I am. I'm pissed at whatever, I'm pissed at whatever brought all of us to this shit show that we call the world, Earth. They should be held accountable for what they've done to us.
Well, yeah. The only way anybody's going to hold anybody accountable, and like I've told a lot of people, I said, don't rely on some alien entities coming and saving us, because
there's no justice in this realm, and there's no justice in the astral plane.
If we don't do it for ourselves, we're never going to get out of here. So if you get aggravated, convert that energy into a positive way and move on with it, because I've seen enough in many years to understand there's a lot out there. And what I want to say about a lot of these entities that appear and don't appear or we can't see, I believe they're there all the time. They're on a different level, but we just can't see them because our eyesight is so limited in the visual spectrum. I think we see less than 0.5% of what actually is out there. So we miss more than we see.
0.05% is what it is. It's so common.
Right. The whole metaphysical field for years has been infiltrated. All this BS stuff that's been put in us, telling us we're all one, all that stuff. No, we're all individuals, and that's why we act as individuals.
we don't remember anything from previous lives. Therefore, we're not learning anything. People say,
Right. How
oh,
would
we're
you
here to learn.
learn? Right.
You
How
can
would you
forget.
learn if you can't remember? And how many times you need to die to learn to die? And how many times you need to go to war? How many times you need to fight with somebody? How many times?
Right.
It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a dog and pony circus.
And we got a brain. It looks like the brain of two hemispheres, and it's like a giant reduction valve that keeps us from remembering anything, thinking clearly, just really being able to really navigate this place properly, communicating properly. Everything's wrong. I think that the important thing is, to me at least, to come to that realization and say, you know what, it's just a giant shit show. So then goes back to the question, and the most important question, all this. And people think it's really selfish and all that, but it's not. Because if we or not, or if somebody could figure out how to escape this shit show, and we could share it with other people, their actual answer, that might be the most important question and answer that humanity could ever receive. So how do we get out of this shit show?
Well,
How do we escape it?
Well, the first thing I tell everybody, obviously, is disconnecting yourself from the game. When we begin to get control, we're constantly fighting everything on every level because it's all going against us. So, like I said, getting out of the game and becoming conscious no matter where you are, whether you are awake or whether you are asleep, and being in control. Whether you gotta live every night in a lucid dream, in a conscious dream, that's what we should be doing, because at that point we have gained control of our nighttime. So our consciousness needs to access our spirit body at night, and we need to be in control of what's happening. And once we can control ourselves and everything during the day, we need to be able to do that at night as well. Because what happens is, if we can be so easily or deceived while we're in dream state, then we still haven't achieved what we need to do. Because if they can fool us in a dream, they can easily put us into that state at any time and just walk all over us. So learning how to say no, or remembering to say no, that's never going to work, because the deceit is far deeper than we could ever imagine. And that's why we need to constantly be aware. And the only way you can do that is through practice.
So basically, but it seems to me that part of this is the constant rehearsal of dealing with that which fears that we are afraid of.
Well, you can't be afraid of anything, because what happens is your emotions, okay, you can't let your feelings and your emotions dictate your life. Once you understand that your emotions, and one thing you can look at is, people say, well, that person made me do it. That person triggered me, that person. If you allow other people to determine your feelings and emotions, then they are controlling you. You don't want
feelings and emotions are a part of the deception. That's part of the problem.
Right, but you can control your own thoughts, you can control your own emotions, and you can control your own feelings. So if somebody walks up to you and says something, like you're an asshole, whatever, and you get all offended by it, you just allow them to trigger you. You allow them to be in control of your emotions. You have to be in complete control of your emotions and your feelings at all time. So when you are either in the sleep state or in the waking state, you need to be 100% in control of yourself. Now, sometimes you might get a little upset or irritated or whatever, but you need to be in control of that, because if other things and outside sources are controlling your thoughts and feelings and emotions, then you are not in control. You have to be in control of everything. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to take control yourself. And you have to consciously be aware of what you're thinking and what you're feeling all the time in order for that to happen. we have a source. We do have a source. I can't say whether it's a god. I don't know what. We do have a source at some point. But if you're looking for a hero and if you're looking for a god, you better look in the mirror. Because you are, and we are the only people that are going to save.
Not Donald Trump? What do you mean? Sure, it's not Donald Trump.
You have to be your own hero, you have to be your own god, and you have to be your own savior. Because there is no one, not even your best friend, is going to stand up for you most likely when it comes down to it. So, you have to do things on an individual basis. Everybody has to stand up for themselves and work for themselves. And if you work with other people, that works fine, but don't depend on anybody else. If you want to depend on somebody depending on your dog or your cat, they're not going to go against you. So what I'm saying is to follow through with disconnecting yourself and being in control. You do that for yourself. You can't do it for your wife. You can't do it for your son. You can't do it for your daughter. You can't do it for your mom. You can't do it for your grandma. You have to prepare yourself and make the information available to whoever wants to do that. But when the time comes and you've prepared yourself and other people haven't, and you try to show them or prepare them, and they don't want to accept it, then you have to do what you have to do. What I'm saying is disconnecting yourself from the system. So it's not a one-step process. It's a whole entire process. It's a process of disconnecting yourself to the point of your consciousness. Understanding and being aware of what everything is happening to you, whether you're asleep or whether you're awake. So you know if somebody pulls the wool over your eyes and we're all manipulated to the point where everybody's in a fog, you will still be conscious enough to make decisions based upon because you have prepared yourself. The only way we're going to prepare ourselves to the psycho-illogical process is to become psychologically in control. Mentally, we have to be in control of ourselves. That's the only way we're going to get out of this. It's not a battle, it's a war, but it's a psychological war. Because if you can't remain conscious, no matter what is presented to you, then you are going to fall right back into the trap and you'll be recycled forever. What it is, when we get to a point, whether I don't know if it's after death or what, when we get to a certain point, we can choose for ourselves what we decide to do. And at that point, no illusion is going to be able to pull the wool over our eyes because we have become psychologically prepared for whatever happens.
So part of this illusion would be like people waiting for Jesus or Allah or Yahweh or Moses or...
Okay, say when you die, I don't even know if this is true. I'm just making this scenario up. Say when you die, it's like a dream state, okay? And you've got a lot of activity going on. And say you're in like a dream state to where everything they could potentially mention to you, you'd say, oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, I'm all with that. Yeah, I'll do that. No problem. When in reality, if you were conscious, you'd say, I'm not doing that. There's no way I'm going to go along with that. The only way I know what's happening. We get to that certain state. And they said, yeah, we looked at it. We really need you to do this. And you really get it. And you're going, oh, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I agree. Even though we know better, we're in that state of illusion and we go along with it. Like we allow the politicians to make decisions for us, even though
presidential election is a perfect example of it.
Right. So here we are, we're acquiescing all of our control to these beings, and we're just throwing ourselves back into the recycling bin. So the only way that we're going to be able to put a stop to it is by getting ourselves out of the illusion, out of the fog. And the only way we can do that is being conscious conscious of it. So no matter what mental level we're at or we're in, we're thrown in. So let me give you an example too. So I started having the portals, and I through the daydream state, I was able to access what I call glimpses. What happens is when we go into a daydream state, which is why you're awake, I noticed when I was driving home, I had an hour commute each way every day. And I'm sitting in the car and I realized there's something in the daydream state. There was something there, but I don't know what it was. So over and over and over for about a year, I kept trying to figure out what was going on, what was happening, till I finally realized that subconsciously there was a portal experience within the daytime in that daydream state that I was having, that I would just show up. There would be somebody talking to me, giving me information, and then it would come right back. And this could be like that, but you would hear a whole conversation. But I couldn't retain the information, because what happens is we come back through the veil, it's like taking a hard drive through a magnetic field. It erases all the information. So I was finally able to bring back information from that. And I realized I had to take my consciousness where my subconsciousness was and then bring it back, retaining information. We all do it on a daily basis. We just don't realize it. I was lucky enough to catch it. I caught it, and then I started studying it. So I pretty much figured out a way to do it every time. I was able to be successful. I have tons of records of them. Most of the information is not really super helpful, but it led me to certain conclusions. But one of them was, here we are. We're in that system, and nobody knows it. Nobody remembers it. Why? Because they are in conscious control of it. When I brought my conscious there, when I was able to project it there and bring it back, then I was able to remember it. But it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of practice to do that. So if they can cover stuff up during our daily lives that we don't even know our subconscious is communicating with it, but our consciousness isn't aware of it, how many other things are there that they can do? If that's what happens after you pass away, you'll never even have a chance of saying no. You'll never have a chance. It's all about creating. It's about getting through the barriers, and it's about exercising your ability to expand your consciousness and to project it and bring information back, and to become conscious no matter what situation they may put you in. Project it down into this low-level vibrational field and insulated from our source and insulated from a lot of areas. So we're in this. They wiped our memory. They wiped everything, and they're in control of the illusion. So imagine if they can wipe our memory and put us in these illusional fields, which I've been in many of them, and you can access your consciousness from at those points, then you are in more control than you ever were. But if you can't even get control of those, there's no way you're ever going to be able to get out of the recycling mode. Was when people say, yeah, I'll just say no and stuff, you won't even be aware of what's going on. You will not even understand the level of manipulation that we are in. It's multi-level manipulation, and it's far beyond what people could even understand. It's even hard for me to understand when I've been going through it for decades. This stuff is next level stuff, and it's so hard to understand. And even when I go through it, I still struggle at times, even duplicating the methods I've used, because what happens is when I duplicate my methodology, so I'm learning, it also learns as well. The system will create new blockages and new resistance. So I have to, as I go along, I have to create different avenues. It's like you're on your path, the next thing you know, there's a roadblock. You know, there's a rock in the way, so you got to go walk around that. Yeah, So we're going against a system that is not only projecting this illusion and everything, it's also learning our avenues around. Fortunately, with the portals, they're on a different level that I've been utilizing. So the portals are not necessarily going to be blocked because they weren't originally generated by me in the beginning. Those were not generated by me. I just learned how to duplicate them, to duplicate the connections.
Okay, but so we're still in a big bind, bro. We're
always going to be in this bind unless we get ourselves out of it. But the problem is first understanding. In order to really understand what I'm saying, you need to understand the situation that we're really in at a certain point. Now, when I say multi-level, you have your psychological programming that's on the physical level, you have your emotional and all those different levels, and you have the astral level, which is the spirit level. So at night, what you've come to know during the day, that information is they're trying to prune that out of you, because on the subconscious level, your subconscious is actually working against your consciousness. And the reason why I came up with that whole idea in the reality of it is, as I realized my subconscious was having these connections and I brought my consciousness along, I found a way to do it. Then I'm like, why would my subconscious not allow me to access it? Why is that? And if you know from a lot of information you get from other people, you hear about the subconsciousness, you have your own experiences, you have your own dream experiences, and I've had enough to where I've documented all this, and I can put it together and I can see there's a pattern. There's a pattern of us being the conscious part and the subconscious being part of the hive mind. So that's not an individual. That's a community, a communal methodology, and we're the actual individual. So we are the separation, and the subconscious blocks your conscious mind because it does not want it to switch between your astral and your soul and that sort of thing. So it's a very convoluted, insulated, and really screwed up system. But the more you learn about it, the more you realize you don't know about it. So the more I learn, the more I realize.
The thing that's happening is, bro, is that we're not giving people the answer they want to hear. We're not even giving the answer that maybe you and I even want to hear. But this is the brutal truth. In order to escape from this full spectrum dominance octagon of a prison that we're in, we have to first accept that that's what we're in, and that the Roman Catholic Church didn't give us the answer. Islam didn't give us the answer. Judaism didn't give us the answer. None of these isms have given us the answer to escape the problem that we're in. And the challenge is, it seems to me the only way is to learn somehow, whatever works, how it works. I'm not claiming I have the answer, but somehow we have to acquire our true sovereign selves, whatever that means. And I don't.
Well, we're already there. We already have ourselves. Our consciousness is with us all the time. And we decide, like I said, we decide if we're going to be in the game or not. We have to physically work at it. We have to mentally work at it. We have to emotionally and work at it. And once we, separate ourselves and then be in control of everything that we think or that we feel, so other people can't trigger us, then we get into the point where, okay, now that I have pretty much control of myself to a certain degree, then I become consciously aware of what's happening in my dreams. Because the dream state is 8 to 10 hours or whatever, 6 to 10 hours of our lives. You don't want to throw that away by not being conscious in it, because what happens is then you're open to all this programming. And if you can't be in control of your dream state, then you'll never be in control of any other state that you're in. Because what'll happen is they'll utilize that same state or a state similar to it when it comes down to it, and you just won't be in charge. You have to be mentally aware, and you have to be in mentally control 24/7. That's the only way that you're going to be able to even scratch the surface, to begin to scratch the surface. What I found out is if I can access portals, then I can access whatever I need to. The problem is just you need to find a way. And nothing's laid out for us. There's no instructions. There's nothing that's going to happen. So the only way that we're going to get to that point is just constantly, I try every day. I work on stuff every single day. I go through, I write things down that I figured out, and to try to help myself and others, and then I put it to the test myself. That's the whole thing. And I understand. I don't dwell on the fact that there's a big job ahead of us, because I really don't care. At this point, my only focus is finding a way through it, and that's what I do. I mean, that's my job, and I just go at it like 100% 24/7 drive, and that's exactly what I do every single day. I'm thinking about it, I'm working on it, I'm trying to find a way around it, and that's what I do.
This is a spiritual ninja. So yeah, you talk about source, so then what is source to you? Because most people would say that's God, but I find that dangerous. This whole God is just dog in reverse. And what is a dog? What is a dog? It's led by on a leash.
Yeah, I don't put a name to it. I do know that we obviously came from somewhere, in a spirit energy source. And to me, I don't really I don't concern myself with a lot of the shiny objects and things that I could think about, because I'm hyper focused on what I'm focused on. I really don't, right now, I really don't care about a lot of the other stuff. I'm working on one thing, and I've gotten good at a lot of things, but that doesn't put me in, that doesn't get me where I want to go. There are tools that I can utilize, but until I have the answer or a methodology that we can utilize, then I'm not going to be happy with it, and that's for me, that's what I focus on. I really don't focus on a lot of other stuff, because I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of beings from other places. They manipulate things in order to make you feel, acceptable to them and that sort of thing. So all the beings that I've met throughout the decades and met with and listened to, there's no information even worth really passing on to, because it's just general information. It's like if they were to come out and say, hey, we'll help you find these missing children. You got 460,000 missing children in the United States every year. Let's help you do that. Or let's help you with free energy and stuff. No. None of them are focused on wanting to help us. Not one of them. Not one of them in 30 years really said, hey, let's go do this, or let's go do that, or this is going to help everybody out. Not going to happen. So all the angels or whatever you call them, the archons or whatever, or whoever, none of them are there to help us. They're there to manipulate us. Like I said, we're in the prison. You go on the astral, it's the prison yard. They're just there as another level of manipulation. They call them their damage control. That way, if you get away from Earth, you're not gonna learn anything, because they're gonna be in control of what they tell you. It's like a lot of the psychics that are out there. They say, I have my spirit guide. Well, what's your spirit guide done to help anybody? I can guarantee it. The answer is not a damn thing. They're going to tell you about all the drama. They're going to tell you about what grandma ate for frickin' breakfast yesterday, whatever. But they're not going to help you because they're not there to help. They're there to keep you in line, to keep you following the agenda.